Hare Krishna, welcome to our Sunday Bhagavatam class. I am on the campus of Davidson College in Davidson, North Carolina, and behind me is the football field, but there's not a game, so you won't be distracted, hopefully. So we're going to begin. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, today we begin with Canto 1, Chapter 10, verse 36. Tatra tatra ha tatra tyair hari pradyuhatar hanaha sayang bheje dishang paschat gavisto gangatas tada. So this is Krishna traveling to Dwarka from Hastinapur, and it said, Tatra Tatra Ha Tatra Tyair. So indeed, so Tatra means there. Tatra Tatra means like here and there, everywhere he went. Tatra Tatra Ha, it so happened. Tatra Tyair. Tatratya means a person who lives there or someone who is there. Tatratya. So everywhere he went, the local people, by the local people, Krishna was honored. Hari, Krishna, pratyudyatarhana. This is very interesting. So prati means reciprocating with someone. The fact that Krishna was traveling through their villages, the fact that Krishna was making himself visible to them. So prati, people were reciprocating with that great mercy by udyata, by offering up, literally offering up arhana, honor to the Lord. And this can mean by actually like offering lamps or flowers or just prayers. Arhana, Prabhupada translates this pradyudyata arhana as being offered presentations and worshipful regards. So everywhere he went, indeed, the Lord received these honors that were offered up to him in reciprocation by the people of each place. So Sayam, distracting. Sayam, so Sayam in the evening and Bheje in, so at night, Sayam means at night when the sun went down. Bheje Dishang Paschat. Krishna, you could say, honored the western direction for the obvious reason that the sun sets in the west. And so just as there's Surya Namaskar, so there's a poetic, to honor the sun, so there's a poetic way of speaking in Sanskrit where they say that the sun goes home at night, like the sun is retiring. It's just poetic, of course. And so here, when the sun, just like you honor the sun when it rises, so when the sun was setting in the west, Dishang Paschat, in the western direction, Krishna would stop and he would honor the setting sun. He would honor the western direction. Sayang Bheje Dishang Paschat, and then Gavisto Gangatastada, when the sun had gone to Prabhupada says, to the ocean. Of course, that would only be when Krishna had reached the end of his journey. So, and was actually on the western coast of India near Dwarka. So to say that Gavisto Ganga Dastada, when the sun went to the ocean, would indicate Krishna's actually coming to the west. He's nearing Dwarka. So that's the end of that chapter. And indeed, Krishna has come to the region of Dwarka. So Sutu Vacha, this is chapter 11, verse 1, Anartan Sopa Vraja. So approaching the Anartas, which means the region of Dwarka. Prabhupada translates it, the country known as Anartan Dwarka. So approaching that region, Sridhan, which was very opulent, very wealthy area, Janapadan, populated. Janapad was a place where people lived. Janapadan, Swakan, and his own. So it's a place where, and Swaka, Swa means his own, Swaka means like his very own. So approaching the Anartas, that opulent, populated area where his own people lived, Dadmo, he blew Dadavarang Teshang, the best of conch shells, Vishadam Shamayaniva, and he pacified all the unhappiness, the sadness of the people, because they were sad because Krishna, of course, wasn't there. So Krishna, everyone knew the sound of Krishna's conch shell. It's very interesting that that actually among these kshatriyas, they recognized each other's conch shells. So everyone knew who it was that was coming by the way they blew their conch shell. Everyone had their own way of doing that. So simply by blowing his conch shell, Krishna announced that it's me, I'm back. And in that way, he was pacifying, driving away the dejection, Prabhupada says for Vishadam, the dejection, the sadness of the residents there. So then, Uchakashe, you have a very poetic description of the conch shell that said, Sa means that, and the last word in the first line is Dara, which means a conch shell. And it's a very, very poetic verse, kind of plays on all kinds of alliteration. So Uchakashe Davalo Daro Daro. So Uchakashe Davalo Daro Daro. Udara means the belly. It can mean like the inside, like sort of the round inside of something, in this case of the conch shell. And so the inside of this conch shell, which is the Dhavala, was gleaming white, a very beautiful white color. And so that conch shell with its gleaming white inside was shining brightly. Api and then Urukramas Yadara Shonima. And Adara there means the lips. And so, and Shona means red. So Krishna's, the red lips of Urukramasya, Adhara, Shona, Shonima, made the conch shell red. It reddened the conch shell. Krishna's, because you have this very bright white conch shell. And this, you can imagine this going on under a bright sun. So you have this very bright, beautiful white conch shell, the white interior. And when Krishna puts it to his lips, his red lips are reddening the conch shell. So that's the image here. And Dad Ma Yamana. This is a form of Sanskrit verb. It's actually a present participle. Meaning it's called the intensitive. So he blew it really, really loudly. So Dma means to blow like a conch shell, but Dadma Yamana means he was blowing the conch shell very loudly, very strongly. Kara Kanja Sampute. In the and he held it samputa in sort of in the rounded interior of his own hand. So you have this image of the inside of this round inside of the conch shell, and then this sort of conch-like shape, which is the Krishna's hand, the inside of his hand, which is the lotus. You have this like lotus-like inside of Krishna's hand. So it's a very intimate, detailed, poetic description. And Yatabja Kande, just like the inside of a lotus. So you have actually three different images here of something having a very beautiful inside. You have the conch shell itself, the inside of the conch shell gleaming white. You have the inside of Krishna's lotus hand and the inside of the lotus itself. So Yatab Jakande Kalahangsa Utswana. And it was like the crying out, sounding of a swan. So all these images of course, you have the conch shell itself, and the lotus of the inside of Krishna's hand. You have the lotus itself. You have the swan who's making it sound very loudly, and the loud sound of the conch shell. So it's a poetic verse full of all these different images. And then tam upashrutya nidadam. So shrutya would mean, or shrutva would mean hearing, but upashrutya means hearing nearby. So suddenly, people are going about their business, they're dejected, they're sad because Krishna's been gone so long, and suddenly from close to them, you have this blast of this powerful conch shell, which can only be Krishna. So that's what's happening here. Tam upashrutya ninadam jagad bhaya bhayavaham. And that sound brings fear to the fear of the world. In other words, danger itself is afraid of Krishna. So that means when you're afraid, you have to leave. People flee danger. They're afraid of something, they go away. So because bhaya can mean fear, it can also mean danger. So in a sense, it's saying that sound it's talking about the sound of Krishna's conch shell. It literally carries danger or fear to the danger or fear of the universe. That's what that compound means. Jagad bhaya bhayavaham and pratyudyayu. So everyone rose up. Praja sarva, all the people, even the animals. Praja, just all the creatures just rose up. Bhartar darshana lalasa, because they were eager. They were just eager, longing for the darshan of their master. Now, it's interesting because the word pratyudyayu, which they all got up, it's the same verb that was used earlier, I think in the first verse of this class, to describe all the honors being lifted up to Krishna. So again, if you know a little Sanskrit, there's all kinds of beautiful composition going on here. So you have the image at the end of several verses ago, you have the image whereas Krishna's traveling, tatra tatraha tatratyayar, that pratyudyatarhana, he's being honored. People are lifting up to him as an offering all these different things. And now in Dwarka, the residents are sort of lifting themselves up as an offering to Krishna. And so to understand that, you have to look really closely at the Sanskrit, of course. But same verb, pratyudyayu, prajak sarva, all of the creatures and all the citizens, bhartar darshana lalasa, being very eager, longing for the darshan of their master. So maybe we'll do one more. Tatropanita balayo rever deepa mivadrata. So balayo means offerings. Bali can mean an offering. Prabhupada here defines it in the synonyms as presentations, offerings. So there, tatra, upanita, they brought right to Krishna. So nita means brought in Sanskrit, nita. And upanita means really they brought it to him. They just brought it to him, all these offerings. But it was like honoring It was like bringing a lamp to the sun. That's the idea. Because you have the sun, which is the source of all light, and then you bring a deepa, a lamp, as an offering to the sun, to offer to the sun. But of course, you're offering to the sun, you're offering a little lamp to the sun, which has infinite light. And so that's the idea here, that Adrita, they were honoring Krishna, but they were presenting these offerings to Krishna, who possesses everything, who has all opulence. It's just like offering a lamp to the sun. So they were offering it to Krishna, who's Atma Ramam, taking pleasure in himself, not in something outside himself. Purna Kamam, whose desires are all fulfilled, just like Purna means full, like Om Purna Madak. So Purna also means fulfilled. So whose desires are all fulfilled within himself, Nijala Bena, by his own achievements. So Krishna's desires are all fulfilled by his own achievement, because he's Atma Ramam, takes pleasure in himself. Nitya Da, always. This is always the case. So the citizens who were Priti Utpala Mukha, their faces were Utpala, were blossoming. Their faces were just blossoming, Priti, with love. And then they addressed Krishna, Harsha Gadgadaya Gira, Gira, with words, with speech, which was broken by their excitement. So Gadgada is sort of onomatopoeic. In other words, it's a word that sounds like what it means. So when you're stuttering, it means something like stuttering. Prabhupada translates it here, ecstatic. But Gadgada, it's like Gadgada. It's like you can't. Your speech is broken because you're so excited. So and so their speech was broken, or they were stuttering because of their excitement. And they were like Arbakaha, like children worshiping Avitaram, their protector, Pitaram, their father, Sarva Suradam, Krishna, who was a well-wisher of all of them. So very beautiful. So it's a very powerful, emotional, spiritual scene that's going on there. So maybe I'll stop there. It'll be a short class today. But and then in the next verse, which I hope we'll all be together again, next Sunday, 111.6, we will hear what the residents of Dwarka actually say to Krishna. We will hear the prayers, the praise, just the excited words that these residents of Dwarka are going to offer to Krishna. So, let's see if there's any comments. Que nos podría, okay, so this is, I'll translate from Spanish. What could you kindly explain about the bad omens that appear sometimes in the Bhagavatam? The arm is trembling, or the eyes are blinking involuntarily, or one crosses, or one is, let's say an inferior animal goes by, etc. None of those things are causes. I think I believe there's a very serious misunderstanding about the influences of stars and people wear stones and this and that. Basically, our happiness and distress depends upon moral considerations. If you're a good person, if you do good things, you'll be happy. If you're not a good person, if you do bad things, then you will suffer. And so the stars or astrology, they tell us, it's just information. The stars are not causing it. What causes our situation is karma. It just gives us information. So in terms of these inauspicious symptoms, again, it's information. And of course, just like if you let's say by karma, if you have a disease, then you go to a doctor. So one can argue that, well, the stars give us information so we can counteract it in various ways. I don't know. I don't know of any case in the Bhagavatam where people use certain stones or do certain. I mean, the point is that that a devotee, and this is what Prabhupada said. I was with Prabhupada in his room in Los Angeles, sitting right next to him when the first ISKCON astrologers came in to ask Prabhupada's blessings to do astrology in ISKCON, and Prabhupada said no, he didn't want them to. And the reason he gave was, he said, because our whole process is to depend on Krishna. And so that kind of life where you're just constantly calculating how to avoid this and get that, and I'll chant this mantra and wear that stone, and I'll do this or do that, and all kinds of bizarre things that people do. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Tameva Sharanam Gacha, chapter 18, Sarva Bhavena Bharata, with all of your existence, you should take shelter of God alone. Of course, we still go to doctors, we still, buy insurance. So it's not that we don't do anything in this world to protect ourselves, but the devotee takes normal precautions, but really the main thing is to depend on Krishna. If Palaka wants to know where I am, that means you came late to the class. I am in Davidson, California, on the campus of Davidson College. In North Carolina. That's where I am. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming to the class. Hope everybody is well, and that we'll all be together again soon. Hare Krishna.